everyone, and welcome to It's Still Quarantine. I'm immunocompromised, and I need something to do while I watch an abject horror out my windows. I recorded this backing video before the world started falling apart, but I feel like I'd be remiss not to address what's going on in the world right now. Black Lives Matter, Black Queer Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter. Wear your mask correctly and wash your hands. Honestly, I graduated university in May of this year after 6 years, and it feels like there isn't a world to graduate into anymore. But I think maybe that's a good thing. Not that people are literally dying of racist police brutality, but that we can build a new place to graduate into for next year's graduates, if we try. Sorry, that's all I'll do of the preaching, but if you want to help a lot of good causes, I'll leave links below to donate to, as well as a link to my shop where I'm selling stickers whose proceeds go to Black Lives Matter and the Trevor Project. So if donating isn't your gag, or you just really like stickers, you can get some fun, shiny merch for being a decent human being. Anyway, capitalism is a nightmare. On to the video. Dear Insecure Artist, this video was really hard to make. And not the actual video editing, though the free source software definitely had a learning curve. It was hard to make for a lot of reasons. I used to make YouTube videos back in 2004 to 2006 when the height of YouTube creativity was Sasuke Uchiha and Animal I Have Become. I made speed painting videos and doodles to music, and I never spoke because of that good, awesome voice dysphoria. And even though there was nothing to see but low pixel quality Photoshop brush blending, anime hair highlights, I was still so scared to post them. I come from a world of relative solitude when it comes to being online. My nature is pretty reserved, and since art has always been a really important thing to me, I just hid it. I still sometimes do. I don't post often, but every time I would try to share, to stream, to create a viewpoint into my world because of past abuse and my introverted tendencies, I'd just retreat again. And I've decided 2020 is when I stop doing that. I reach out, and not just for me yelling into the void, but also the thing that's helped me most is having other artists' hands to hold on to on the way out of dark pits. And if I could do that for other creators, that'd mean a lot to me. In my group of creative friends, we all have these really amazing talks to gas each other up, and it's great, but I wonder sometimes if there's more we could do. I thought that when I got older and I finally went to art school, that problem would change. I thought that my dreams would come true as an illustrator and I'd magically be granted bravery like it was some enchanted item I could turn on whenever I wanted to say hi to people on social media. Yeah, I learned the hard way that social media and bravery don't really work like that. I hardly ever post a thing online that I don't share from someone else, and I'm that hotly political queer friend on your timeline that won't shut up about trans rights. But when it comes to art and sharing, I'm bad at it. Or at least I always thought I was. That was the narrative that I learned in school instead of how to do art. And I'm not saying art school is bad or worthless. I learned a lot of great things too. But I hope I'm not the only one that learned the, quote, right way to do something and then lost all interest in doing it at all. It was so much easier to post bad anime AMVs than actually record my own self-talking. It was so much easier to draw Avengers memes than it was to try and inevitably fail at making the things I wanted to make. And I do think my probable ADHD and diagnosed autism has something to do with it, but for the longest time, I didn't know what I wanted to say. And even if I did, I thought I wasn't going to be good enough to say it. So this is about insecurity, and specifically insecurity in art. Oh, and if you're wondering about the drawing in the background, I just wanted to experiment with a clear witch hat, and this is what my brain came up with while trying to teach myself to digital watercolor. I don't know. So there are many kinds of insecurities in artists. If we go over a few, you've got to promise me that even if you relate to one of these, you won't get mad at me. This isn't to call any of you out, and this isn't to make you feel like less of an artist because you might be insecure. Being insecure is not a fault. Stay with me. Insecurity doesn't always look like insecure thoughts or what you'd expect. Sometimes it looks like anger or frustration or artist block or sadness or even drama. I'm lashing out. If you don't know that you're insecure, you can't diagnose the reason, and you can't improve. Next, you really have to break down your insecurities into bite-sized, very simple ideas. Complex, strung-together thoughts entangled into a web are just blocking the way for you to reach your goals. So let's break down a few common ones into the core problems and work through those solutions. This is by no means an exhaustive list, and obviously everyone is different, so all these tasks won't help every person, but hopefully one or two things from this list will help you. The first type of insecure artist is not good enough. Your work doesn't match what's in your head. You're technically challenged. Your skills might be less than what you think they should be. You can always learn more skills here. Start small and narrow. Don't try to pick up a skill like drawing the perfect anatomy or having the perfect line art. Just start as little as one pencil flick. Copy that one pencil flick that you like from another artist, or copy one tool that you like from another artist and practice it over and over until you like what you see. Change how you think about your own skills too. It's really easy to get stuck into this mindset of I'm bad and I always will be bad and I don't know how to learn new stuff. The best thing that you can do when you get there is to just keep trying. Find one thing that you like, one artist that you like, and follow that. Learning new skills can be very hard and very time consuming, and it can take a toll on you. Right now, I'm teaching myself like 5 new things all at once, and it's exhausting, and I understand as someone with mental and physical limitations, I don't always have the spoons or the focus to learn new skills to get myself out of this specific slump. So what I do instead is compare my work to past me and only past me. I know I just talked about how I self-isolate and it's bad for a lot of reasons, but in this case, isolating away from other artists, as hard as it is in our socially connected wire world, and doing it with intent, like half a day to go through an old art folder and look directly at where you came from to where you are now, as a creator will do loads to quiet the little voice that says that you aren't good enough. For me, this helps to do just before an event or something I'm going to be involved in. I start remembering the situations my old artwork was linked to, such as, oh, this piece helped me get into university, and it looks atrocious, and I hate every bit of it, but it was good enough then to get me into university, so my new work should be good enough now because it's loads better. This sets up a precedent in your brain to look at your past constructively instead of out of embarrassment, which is very valuable. So the best thing to do in this scenario is to take time to just learn part 1 of the skill. You don't even have to put pen to paper, just part 1. The best way to do that is to look up the tutorial for the thing that you want to learn. Like, say you want to learn how one artist draws eyes, just look up how they draw eyes, and then instead of trying to learn the entire drawing of the eye in one sitting, just go and learn the one arc of how they draw the top of the eye, and draw that top of the eye as many times as you want until it looks right. And it doesn't take too many spoons to just have a queue of all of these like tutorials by different artists. You can really easily just collect them, put them away for later use. Something that I tend to do when I find that I'm running low on spoons is I look up the resources that I need for my next project. I look up reference images, I look up tutorials. I've been teaching myself how to digitally watercolor, and so I just looked up tutorial upon tutorial in Clip Studio of how to achieve that look, and I compiled resources with bookmark links and put them away for later when I did have the spoons to continue working. I know right now, with the way that things are outside, it's really hard to come up with the energy to do anything, and I think the best thing that you can do when you don't have that energy is to prepare for when you do have energy. I know that being insecure in this area, thinking that you're not good enough, a lot of people have heard of the gap. A lot of artists talk about the gap, where what you see in your brain is not the same as what you're seeing on the page, and I think that that's really true. It happens to almost every artist out there where your skills are not matching up to what you want to do, and the solution to all of that is never to walk away or give up. being good enough isn't a destination. It's not a point that you get to when you graduate after 4 years of college or when you finally land that job that you wanted to go to. It's something that actually happens gradually. And when you recognize your faults, you need to do it constructively. And the best kind of constructive recognition of faults that I have found is by making a list. When I have a brand new sketchbook, I start off the first page by setting it up like a bullet journal, and I put in little 1-inch dots and make it a space for what I want to see going forward in my art, and I make a conscious effort to make things like that better. So say I fill this sketchbook with amazing, beautiful drawings that I'm really proud of, but I found that over these drawings, commonality is that something about the line weight doesn't speak to me, or I recently went through a sketchbook and found that I don't particularly like how unprofessional a lot of my unfinished drawings are. And what I'll do is I'll take that criticism and I'll list it in the front of the sketchbook, and I'll make a conscious decision with the next sketchbook to take that into consideration. So I actually rip the first page of the sketchbook out and I'll tape it into the front of my next sketchbook as a way to look back and look forward, because obviously in the next sketchbook I'm starting another list. So it's a really easy way to keep myself accountable. Another kind of really insecure artist is the originality problem. The real problem with this kind of artist is that their view of originality is too narrow. We're always taught that original ideas in the art world are paramount, that they are the best thing that you can do, but originality isn't this big unattainable construct that's only made of genius blood and tears, where you have to completely divorce yourself from things that inspire you or media or creations that you like. Honestly, originality is kind of a myth. And while sometimes people say that in a very bad way to mean that they can just take ideas without patenting them or crediting, it actually means that the probability that in the billions of people in the world that two of us wouldn't have the same idea is kind of silly. So to fix this insecurity, you need to stop thinking of originality as being all of your traits, or the traits of the thing that you're admiring, or as one big lumbering unattainable thing, and start thinking of originality in terms of how, not what. So the small pieces of that colossal task start to get more easy to parse, and you start seeing the mortar in between. Originality isn't the idea that you have necessarily, it's the execution of those ideas. So no, you're not the first one to create a story about vampires, but how you execute that story, what you put into it, where it comes from within you is unique to you. Like, it's really easy to show your mind originality is a very fragile house of cards. You can use elements of other things to turn your wheels sometimes. Something that I like to do a lot is fill out questionnaires, or play D&D or a video game. Even using the customization screen on something like Bethesda game helps a lot to build that originality into your work. Originality isn't about the things so much as it is about how you put those things together. I like to liken art to fashion in this way, where 30 other people could have the same shoes and the same bag and the same hat as you, but those 30 people aren't going to wear them with the same outfit or in the same way. So even if you're drawing the exact same thing as another artist, you're working from the same subject, you will always have just a slight bit of yourself in that piece. And it's about finding out what those pieces of you are. What about your fashion of drawing is who you are. So the third kind of insecure artist is the serious artist, and there's nothing wrong with being serious. I like to think that I'm a rather serious person, even though I make a lot of jokes and everything. And see, the problem with being too serious in the arts is that you lose the ability to look back on yourself. And so something that I found that helps when I get into a really serious mindset is I like to make little jokes, little digs, sometimes self-detrimentally, of course, but little things that I can say that make living as an artist a little easier. And similarly to number 2 on this list, one thing you can do is redefine what seriousness means to you in the same way of professionalism. Redefine what professionalism means to you. I know when I was going through school, something that was really important to me was seeming professional, and as I get older, I find that the outward look of seeming professional is entirely a construct. You don't have to have your professionalism look like any others. And I've got quite a few tattoos and lip piercings, and I like to tie my hair up with bandanas with skulls printed on them, so I like to joke that professionalism is dead, that seriousness is dead. However, I make these really wide sweeping serious pieces of work a lot of the time, and I like to make very, very serious commentary on what's going on around me. This piece in the background, not concluded, but I also write a lot of serious poetry, and I found that by redefining what being a serious artist meant to me, really freed up that for me. It freed up that ability to make what I wanted to make, and it freed up my ability to joke around while still addressing some really heavy topics and heavy things. And I think a lot of the time, too many young artists and just insecure artists in general of any age think that by being serious that they're projecting this outward perfectionism to the world, where they feel like they're just doing everything perfectly, and anyone who questions it isn't serious enough about the craft, isn't serious enough about their art. And since this mindset often stems off of perfectionism, I struggled with it a lot. I struggled with a lot of perfectionist thoughts, that I wouldn't share anything until it was perfect, that I wouldn't post anything until it was perfect, especially going into school. My, videos of bad AMVs and my horrible speed paints from 8 years ago have been nuked off the internet forever. They've been wiped clean, still because of that perfectionism. And cringe culture plays into it too, but a lot of the time perfectionist artists just find it incredibly hard to even post anything, because if you post anything, then what's stopping someone from saying that something about it isn't good? And obviously a lot of these traits can go concurrent. A lot of these insecurities can really hinder a person, one stacked on top of another. So the fourth kind of insecure artist is the practice makes perfect artist, and this is something that is a mantra for a lot of art schools. It's a badge of pride of, I've drawn 1,000 drawings of this one thing, and that makes me a perfect artist in that one thing. And practice doesn't make perfect, and I'm really glad and grateful that I had a professor that distinctly taught this to us, distinctly broke apart these ideas of practice makes perfect. And I remember one of the quotes that he always said in the room was, perfect practice makes pretty good. And that it's not so much about practicing the thing repeatedly, because if you practice a bad way of doing something repeatedly, you're just going to learn a bad way of doing something. So the best thing with practice makes perfect is that you find a very perfect way to practice. It's less about drawing a thing 1,000 times and more about learning how to draw that thing really well a few times and then extrapolating off of that. You don't need to perfectly draw the thing. You just need to be good enough at it that it translates. Or if you're not trying to draw something, say you're an abstract artist, learn what you're abstracting enough that you can abstract it, but you don't need to do it perfectly. The fifth kind of insecure artist, and I currently fall under this bracket, and I hate it, is the style artist. Having a style is fake. Moving on. But no, really. Style is how you choose to put together things. So a lot of artists mistake style with the type of art that you draw. And for me, I'm very insecure about my style because my style tends to fluctuate. I have a lot of styles and I have a lot of ways that I solve a problem, because in the end, your style is how you solve the problem of creating art, how you solve the problem of communicating something. The best advice that I can give you if you're insecure in this area is to find your voice, and when you're creating sketchbooks or when you're creating work, really look back on how you always get to a solution. Those steps that you take to finish a problem or to finish a piece are really where your style lies. The sixth kind of insecure artist is the credentials artist, and this artist I also was in the past. I was an artist who was really looking forward to art school because I thought that degree would give me some sort of validation. I thought that it was the next step in my career to get those credentials, and I held credentials above everything else. I held credentials above learning more about myself. I held credentials above everything, and the thing that what really becomes a problem with this is you learn that credentials mean more than your own sanity or your own depiction of yourself or your own ability to be who you are. And I, for 5 years, dumbed down what I wanted to create because I wanted that degree. And a lot of people hold this higher standard. A lot of artists feel this way, where they think, a lot of young artists feel this way, thinking that once they get that job, once they get that big level, that big payment, once they've gone to art school, once they have a degree behind them, that will mean that they're valid. That will mean that their art is valid. That will mean that what they create has a backing. And that's just not true. You don't need any credentials to be good at art. You don't need anything. So the last kind of insecure artist is something that I'm dealing with right now. And it's arguably the hardest thing that I've faced in doing art. And I think I've faced it for a long time and I just didn't have words for it. But imposter syndrome is real, especially as an artist. I really felt that what I was creating just wasn't, not so much not good enough, but more anyone who loved whatever I created or anyone who said anything nice was false platitudes or empty things. I was so concerned with not letting it get to my head and not having a big head as an artist. I didn't want to become one of those, oh, I'm so good at art people, that I wouldn't let myself feel joy for what I created, and I still don't. When I make something, it's really hard for me to put it out there. It's really hard to come to terms with the fact that I never feel like what I've made is good. And for anyone who's going through this right now, I fully understand you. And I think that it's very sobering to hear it from someone else. It helped me a lot to listen to TED Talks about it and to hear other people talking about it. Finally, someone had something to say about this that wasn't, oh, just get over it. Something that I found that does help me with imposter syndrome, or does help me get to where I need to go finishing work. And even right now I'm having trouble finishing work because of the state of the world. Something that really helps me with this, and it's gonna sound kind of unconventional, and I just hear me out, is spite. Spite has gotten me through a lot of really dark times as an artist. It's gotten me through art school when I didn't think I would finish. It's gotten me back into art when I almost quit, when I was working a menial 9-to-5 job, and there's no shame in that. There's no shame in working minimum wage. But it really got me back on the horse. Just that, I don't know, unbridled, boiling spite for every person that's ever said either I couldn't do it, or all those really hateful comments on old YouTube videos that I've deleted now, just everything like that. I used spite as a motivator, and it's not a great motivator, and you shouldn't be angry all the time. You should definitely find better ways to handle your own issues that don't involve on relying on other people. But when you need that little boost, it can help you learn what you really value. If one little nagging comment really digs in deep and you hold on to it for years, it can teach you a lot about yourself. It's not helping me beat imposter syndrome. I don't think that you can ever beat this insecurity. I don't think that you can ever beat any art insecurity, but it does help me get through. One of my favorite art mentors said that sometimes it can help to think of art as a relationship and not your job. And that really does hold true for me. Thinking of art as a job and being cold and methodical about it has only ever stressed me out. It literally put me in the hospital many times. And I'm not telling you not to pick art as a career. You can pick whatever you want as a career, and doing art as a career is really fun and fulfilling, and it is worth it. It can be amazingly rewarding and fun, but your relationship with your art should never, ever be monetary in that way. You should never tie money to your enjoyment of art, if that makes sense. Don't ever let the money control what you create. Like, definitely make art that you have to so that you can eat, but if that's all you do, art will start feeling like a job, and then you aren't going to want to create anything that you want to anymore. But overall, I think the big thing that you should focus on is finding out who you are as an artist. That's the best advice that I could give, and all this talking about insecurity and about myself, and yes, I'm aware this is a very self-indulgent video, but I really just wanted to make videos that I wish that I had found when I was younger. And I know this because when I was first writing the draft for this script, I was putting on a fake personality of a very boppy, upbeat YouTuber whose name is Stacy, spelled with an I-E, with wireframed quirky glasses and freckles, who dreams of one day being a graphic designer so that she and her two best friends can share an apartment next to a craft brewery. I welcome people back to my channel. I told them to subscribe. I wrote out long uplifting prose with idyllic jokes, but none of that seemed right to me. Like, if you want to subscribe, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. No one's going to be standing in front of the subscribe button with a police baton or anything, but it just didn't seem right to put up this really upbeat, boppy front when I don't feel that way coming out of university. It might just be the ADHD or the depression, but that just isn't who I am. I don't think it ever has been. I never knew if I wanted to release what I have to say, and I've gone over this script many times, and I still keep changing it, but I guess something that I can do, if I can put something out there to help anyone else, I might as well do it. It's what I would have wanted when I was 14, it's what I wish that someone would have told me, and that's the most that I can hope for. If you were or are on this list of insecure artists, what I have to say to you is don't give up. Keep making work. Keep doing what you find uplifting. Keep uplifting others, and in these really uncertain times, I really hope that you get something out of this. Something happy, something good, something light. We all could use that right now. I still don't fully know what I want to do with this channel yet, but I guess I look forward to probably some more art. I'm going to leave you with a bit of poetry, because as long as I can remember, I've been one of those really pedantic people in the back of English classes that loved Shakespeare. This is something I wrote years ago, and it still rings true for me. Lead me back to art. Paint my life in black and white, wake me up in darkest night. Give me brightest night's moon. Give me rainy afternoon and tea time leaves and autumn bloom. Bless my brushes with a blaze which washes watercolors across blank stage. Give me burning brain and bleeding heart, and forever lead me back to art. Anyway, thanks for watching and getting on this weird chariot ride with me. I hope it helped. I love you guys. See you in the next one. New videos sometime soon, and maybe we'll grow and make more art together.